I spent a half a day in a canoe with the Murfreesboro Stormwater Department looking for illicit discharges in the Stones River. Summer months are the opportune time to do this because water levels are down. In a past story, we highlighted this task, but it was done by walking in dried stream beds.
We're out on the West Fork today, Stones River. We're starting at Searcy Street and paddling downstream to Thompson Lane. And we're screening outfall stormwater discharges. So these are pipes that convey water to the river during storm events. And so we've been several days, at least 3 or 4 days, without any rain at all. So this is a great time to screen the rivers, because if we find flow, we'll have to further investigate. So we're also going to use the opportunity to do a little cleanup. We've got an extra boat here beside us. We're going to try to fill it up with trash while we're out. But the vast majority of the cleanups are done by volunteer groups in Parks and Recreation. We're just going to try to pitch in a little bit. And these outfalls that we screen, these are not like the newer subdivisions where all the stormwater runs into a stormwater control measure like a bioretention area or a detention basin and treats the water. A lot of these outfalls that we'll see today go directly to the river here. So anytime there's new construction, we go out and map everything, all the inlets, all the head walls, the ditches, the ponds. And since it's new construction, you can normally follow it straight down to whatever stream it's going to. In the older sections of town, these systems were installed a long time ago. They're covered up in vegetation, so it's not uncommon that when we're out here doing a screening, we find a new one and we'll take a point and that'll become part of our inventory. All right, from my map, I can see that there's a stormwater discharge point up ahead on the right. If it were just me looking for it in full vegetation like we've got now, it'd be hard to find, but I can paddle right up to it on our map to be able to see if it's got any flow. Yeah, this is our outfall right here, and so it's not flowing. There's not much to it. All you can tell is there's a little incision in the bank. Yeah, another good thing about floating the river in kind of the dry time or the base flow period, that's basically when you're not really having any rain events, and basically all that's coming in the river is groundwater. And so we've got a water quality probe that measures dissolved oxygen and temperature. And so what we can do is every so often we'll take a point using our GPS, and then we'll put in the probe readings, and it'll give you a different temperature, and that's useful so you can bring it back to the office and you can map it out based on color. So for instance, if you had a bunch of points going all up and down the river and there's a variation in temperature, you can map the cooler temperatures as, say, blue. You could exaggerate, and the warmer temperatures as red, and then you would get an idea of where maybe some groundwater's coming in. Yeah, we will do this particular section once a year, every year. This time of year in the dry season. This kind of represents downtown, the innermost part of the city. It's old infrastructure, so there's not a lot of treatment, detention ponds, and so forth. And then we'll pick another stream and we'll rotate it, another tributary, and we'll walk that stream or screen the outfalls, and then we'll just sporadically check the system up in the catchment and the watershed. So we've got 3 coming up, 2 on the right, 1 on the left. So what we see right here is an open fracture or joint in the bedrock. And a lot of times as water infiltrates into the ground, and it'll eventually make it down to the bedrock. Once it makes it down to the bedrock, it'll start following these fractures and joints like you have right here. And if the joint or fracture gathers enough water, this is where you may find springs and seeps come out. This one's dry, but there has been a spring here in the past. Yeah, so here we have a outfall. It's not flowing, but it gives us some more information. It's probably got a fairly large drainage area because of the amount of cutting that's doing or eroding of the channel. And so where this bank gets displaced, it's going to put sediment downstream. Sediment was the #1 source of pollution, stream pollution in Tennessee. And a lot of people think of sediment as being lost off of construction sites. It's got the black silt fencing around it. That's designed to keep the sediment on site. Sediment can also happen from stream bank erosion and also channels coming in like we have here. They're large enough that they're starting to cut back and become unstable. Okay, most of what we've seen are open channels, the drainage system of pipes and inlets and so forth, kind of discharge out into an open channel. This, on the other hand, is an example of where the pipe is discharging directly into the river. So there's really no chance for treatment. All those pollutants can come straight here without any treatment whatsoever. We'd like to put in some kind of treatment feature like a bioretention or just simply vegetation to help infiltrate some of the water that would be coming down here. It's also a good time to sample springs. Like I mentioned before, a lot of the water coming in when you're going a week without any rain, a lot of the water coming in is groundwater. And if you can actually find the spring, it's a good time to kind of sample that, just make sure everything's good. All right, we're here at one of our larger springs. If we were up on the main road, we'd be right near the intersection of Broad Street and Northfield Boulevard. So since we've mapped all of our springs, we know to expect this. We know where most of our groundwater inputs come in. It's not flowing a whole lot right now. It normally is a pretty large spring, so the last week or so it's been relatively dry. So now we're about to the end of our trip, but we're looking at a bed of limestone here, and you can see water stains. And that's how the water moves beneath our feet just about anywhere we're standing in Rutherford County, except that the river cut down through it and kind of intercepted this bedding plane of water, so groundwater. And so you see stains. As this kind of bed plunges down, a bigger spring will come out downstream here.